so please go ahead, Jim.
I have just a couple of things. All of you in your packet have the brochure, the announcement, and it went out on Monday, so everything is absolutely on schedule, and that's a real positive. So, you know, we kind of worked over the holiday. Lane has done a lot. John, I know, was involved, working with Megan at USDA and Richard Stoll, and I think, you know, I think they did a nice job. One thing I want to point out to you that you should be able to share with constituents, I think is so great right there where you're talking about leadership qualifications as identified by employees, parents, community members, that all the results of that survey, that, you know, as a board, you listen to those.
Also, please show them the process. It has the community, the citizens committee is listed on there that will be reviewing them, so they understand that part of that process.
Yeah.
Which I thought was very powerful again.
Yeah. Yep. So, you know, just in terms of timeline, and remember, I'm just kind of assisting the board now on process and timeline.
Please.
That this will be open until February 4th at 4 p.m., then applications close. And Lane will be the one that coordinates the Citizens Committee being contacted, brought in, and evaluate, you know, the application. That will happen on February 10th. All of those evaluations will be done independently, so that's not going to be a group effort. I love Richard's recommendation on that you don't want any member of the Citizens Committee sort of feeling like they were pressured by another member of that committee to respond in a certain way. And then the goal would be that by February 12th, at the latest, you receive all of the applications as well as all of the evaluations of those applications. And then, John, I'd say at that point,
We gotta get together.
you need to
We need to move on.
establish a process to say, okay, as a board, we're gonna come together and evaluate all of this and determine how many finalists that we wanna interview, bring in and interview, and but that, you know, you've got about a 2-week window that.
Do they have to, if they meet together, does it have to be advertised and then they go into a closed session for that? How does it work?
Yeah, so we can do that in the middle of February though.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Call a special meeting
Yeah.
and then go into closed
Yeah.
session.
Yeah.
So when you decide you wanna have, you know, a closed session, and that's, you know, it's different. We've been through now a couple of times as a board when we have to replace a board member, and you can't go into closed session for that, and that's awkward. But for this, you can go into closed session, and that's appropriate for you to be in closed session. So when you decide you want to schedule the closed session to go through these applications, and it will only be the 7 of you. You know, that's by law, that's your charge. And so when you decide, you know, let's contact me, and we'll make sure Pam, you know, gets that noticed, that is a meeting, but it's a closed session of the board to discuss character and competence.
Really quickly, just because of calendar, the 10th, when the Citizens Committee gets together, is the second week in February, and that's a Thursday. We only got 2.5 weeks to do that. Do we wanna pencil something in right now and then
Yes.
secure it? I think so too. February, once we know the numbers that are coming in, might help us also determine the length of that meeting that we might have. So we can get interviews set up just as quick as we can, make phone calls, get interviews, so that we can do what we need to do in March. Having said that, does anybody
Wow, that's
out of town or not?
not a lot of time.
President's Day's the 21st, it's a Monday.
This is such a tight timeline.
Valentine's is the 14th, you may not want to take that day.
Just so you say, John, I don't care, you can use that.
14th works for you.
Whatever.
Now, the citizens, that committee, they'll do that independently. Will they have any time where they all
Tell
meet
me
together?
really fast,
There
what
won't
are
be
the
any of
Hawaii
that.
days?
Probably
Really
Lane will
fast.
facilitate that. I would think the beginning is together to give direction,
Okay.
but not coming together to, hey, what do you think about this
Yeah.
or that?
We kinda wouldn't want to do that.
So that would be
March
independent,
2nd.
but I would
can't
think the
think
vast
right now.
majority will meet together initially
can't think
to
right
get instructions.
Okay.
So Jeff, would they go off like just in separate?
I'm gonna
I'm
let
sure it'll
Lane-
just be in the boardroom.
Lane's gonna do that, okay.
But you'd be able to separate them.
In the boardroom.
Boardroom,
and
maybe the K-12 conference
Okay.
Just give
room.
them two areas, depending on our numbers,
Sure, okay.
and we'll get that to Lane fairly quickly.
February 28th.
So that's
Okay.
Thursday. Anybody have any druthers? That's Thursday the 10th. Friday they could put that together. Monday they could actually get the list short. The 16th is Wednesday.
Who'd get the list, what do you mean, get the list short?
Get us the evaluations, get us our
Yeah, so I'd
applications,
say,
so they could compile that.
yeah, I would
thing.
say it will take Lane a day or two.
That's what I'm
To
saying.
organize
What he just
everything
did.
that the Citizens Committee has just done, so that they'd be able to present each of you
With those.
with all of those copies, and you're gonna have a lot of information at that point.
Yeah.
You know, with each application, you'll have maybe 30 evaluations of that application.
Yeah.
Jeff, will there be like a rubric or something?
There is a
they're
rubric,
Looking
yes.
at, and so
Yes.
that can be, we can look at
That's
the
what you're looking at.
results of that.
Yes, you're
Okay,
looking,
thank
there,
you.
there is a rubric that the Citizens Committee members will use to evaluate
The
the
application.
applications. And
And
there's,
that came directly from our surveys.
it included that. It included that as well as some of the other things that are listed in here. And in that rubric at the end of it, it asks for a recommendation. Who are your top five, based on
Oh,
this,
okay.
who are your top 5 people that you think the board should interview?
Mm,
Okay,
So-
so that will be helpful.
Then we gotta come up with an interview list.
Which is gonna be very quickly after we pull so the thought would be is, can we come up with a date right now that third week, the 14th through the 18th, that we can pick a date, we will know the numbers on the 2nd of how many applications we have. So if you're looking and saying, okay, I have 12, so maybe on the 16th, it's only gonna take us this long to evaluate what the community does. So if we have 30, then
Oh,
it's
yeah.
problematic.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But
So
if I
John,
follow
tell me
you-
again, what are we doing on that first time? Are we narrowing the?
We're narrowing the list on saying, okay, here we
Okay,
go,
and
please
then
call
from
these.
there,
for-
we'll have another time when we'll do an interview.
Then we will be full dressed interview.
Okay, thank you.
And you can make the decision that night on the interviews if we have a strong candidate, or we make it push if we have to bring them back. Cause now we're pushing into that next week.
I'd
Where you
leave
may
yourself-
negotiate.
And I like that thinking, I'd leave yourself a little time.
We have,
Just in
After the,
case.
after the interviews, just in case
Just
you
in
feel
case.
as though we better bring 2 of them back
Okay.
and conduct a second interview.
and then
Also,
based
it'll be
on
at the March board meeting.
March board meetings.
So maybe we should have a date for the first, a date for the second, and a possible date for
Yeah,
the third.
yes, all within a week and a half.
And March is what, the 2nd?
It's March 2nd.
March 2nd.
It's
Early
Dr.
March.
Seuss Day, Robert, just so you know.
It's what?
Dr. Seuss
Oh,
Day.
Dr.
That was
Seuss.
Linda's favorite day. Or
Alan
somebody
has
always
it
called me.
planned for me to be
Yeah.
gone from the 28th of February to the 7th of March.
Okay, we can get it done before that, because the 28th is a Monday. We can actually, that gives us 2 weeks
To get all that.
to get it, and
To
that's,
get those 3 meetings.
to get those 3 meetings in.
We could do
Yeah,
that.
but
I'm sure we can.
28th is the Monday. So Janice, you won't be there at the board meeting when the
No,
person is
I
appointed,
won't.
but you should be able,
That was
there.
good
You
to know,
should-
yeah.
Yeah, I
Interview
wouldn't,
process.
I wouldn't want.
We're not gonna press anything up to the
I wouldn't want a
28th.
second interview on the Monday or Tuesday.
I would not either.
Because-
You gotta negotiate with the person, offer and even see if that's gonna happen. What if that didn't happen?
With the first meeting, we get the interview list, and then the second so-called meeting could be a series of
Interviews.
Yes.
interviews.
Yes.
Yes,
So how
And
do you-
for your interviews, you let me know, I think your interview should take place in here.
I do
And
too.
I'll just
So here's my
go
suggestion.
visit schools that day.
Tuesday the 15th. The afternoon of Tuesday the 15th to at least go through,
Yeah,
okay? That gives Lane 2 days.
yeah,
That
Friday?
works for me.
Okay, so time on Tuesday the 15th.
yeah.
What, do you wanna
Give
do
yourself
3?
4 hours. I'd give yourself 3 or 4 hours.
Yeah.
You're gonna wade through a lot of information.
But we will
But we
see
can-
it prior to that, is that correct?
No, that's
No.
it. I'm just saying 3 or
Well,
4 and we can stay till 9 or 10.
If the board is interested, you could receive the applications before that.
I'd like to read through them prior to that.
You gotta remember, Richard said he discouraged that. Do you remember that? He said, I would not see those or have any board members see those till after the citizens committee sees it.
he did say.
Oh,
Well, that
That's
would
only
be
a
after though,
suggestion.
wouldn't it? That would already be after though, right?
The 10th is the
The
citizens.
10th is a Thursday, then that gives the 11th for Lane to go through it, the following Monday, the 14th to go through them, and then we're in the Tuesday afternoon to look at them and go through them. And my suggestion would be 3:30 and we stay as long as we have to that night.
I don't
Some
wanna have
still
to
have-
read that fast. I'd rather look at them on the 14th, honestly, John.
Well, I'm not so sure, and I agree.
That isn't what, I thought he said don't do it before the committee has finished their recommendations, but I'd like to, for me,
I
if I've
think
got
that's your
30
call,
that I'm
John.
looking
I think it's the
for.
board's call. I don't know that, I don't know the damage that could be done, what negatives there would be to letting the board get the applications shortly after February 4th. But that's your call.
Because we're not going to be involved with that.
You're not
Other
gonna, no one's
churchmen.
gonna be present, the board's not gonna be present during the citizens.
However, in order to give justification and solidification to that committee, that we've empowered those 40 people to rate these, now we've already made a perceived decision that says, I like this guy and that guy, and neither got into the short list.
I don't wanna see them before they do, I'm not saying that,
Okay.
John, I'm
Okay.
saying that after they do, before
Before the fourth.
before we
we
meet.
meet,
If-
Oh, I don't think that's a
I don't think that's a problem.
So
Yeah, cause you could give.
if you're printing packets for them for the 10th, then you could just hand those packets.
If
to
I've
us.
gotta do it in 4 hours to
Could-
call it down, I think
could,
that would be really
um, on either Friday the 11th or Monday the 14th,
That's
if we
fine.
just had them available,
Can she
that Pam, with Pam, that you could come and pick them up.
That's fine, we
We
don't
could
even have to
have
pick
each
'em up if I
one,
can sit.
we could have a packet of applications for each of you.
I can
That would be
understand that.
helpful.
I
And
may
not the
understand that.
evaluations.
It doesn't have to be the evaluation, just so that we can look at them after that.
Or do you want the
committee.
evaluations
I would,
available?
I'd like to see that.
All of
I-
it. You
the
want all of it.
evaluations
I'd like to
would
see
be
all
So,
fine too.
so,
Because I think the
Yeah.
citizens thing is.
It's
yeah, yeah,
evaluation.
yeah,
Their
yeah.
evaluation.
Very
So,
critical.
so Pam, let's shoot,
Advertise.
so let's do, I think Friday's too early
I do
So-
too.
so the
compile all
14th.
that. So the 14th.
Yeah.
So what, if each of you can just calendar to stop in on the 14th.
That's Valentine's.
We will
Monday the
have,
14th, will you be open
I'll be.
on
Yes.
Monday the
Yeah.
14th?
Yeah.
And if you take your Valentine to dinner and spend the whole time.
That's what I was gonna
Yeah,
say.
you don't wanna, that night.
Just pick these up on the way to lunch, have lunch, and then go home. You can't even work this out, you just gotta.
okay, we'll have everything ready for each of you. Then that would include the applications and the evaluations of
Thank
those
you.
applications on Monday the 14th.
But here's the deal, then my suggestion is still gonna stay, we need to meet on Tuesday the 15th.
That's fine,
Yeah,
and
that's
we
okay.
need to plan a
Yes.
long time then,
That's
we
okay.
will have already.
So there's
done
no
this.
meeting on the 14th.
It's
No,
just
it's
that
just
we-
come
You're
in
just
if you
coming
want.
in to pick up your.
If you choose to do so. Again,
Mm.
it's an option as a board member.
So we need
They'll have
to, we need to probably notice and advertise a meeting on the,
on the
Tuesday
On the
15th,
15th.
at 3:30?
3:30 in here,
Yeah.
closed.
You got that, Pam?
When's the
Can it
committee
be,
gonna
can it be
meet? What's
4
their
instead of
day again?
3:30?
Paul.
I mean,
You're
on
still
the
working too. And we can stay for 4 hours, puts us at 8.
Yeah,
We
I can
get
stay
in
till midnight, but 4 o'clock would work a lot better
4 o'clock.
than 3:30.
Okay.
4
That's
o'clock on
fine.
the 15th.
And when does the committee meet?
The 10th, 2 days before.
Okay. But
So
they'll
how
have
does-
the stuff before then, before, or, no, when they meet. and
They've
then
got a
they-
lot of work.
Okay.
They'll be working that way.
They'll work faster than we are because there's more numbers at the
And do
same
you
time.
want that meeting in here on the 15th?
Yes,
at
I
4?
would. That way nobody will leave us alone. Because we can actually close the door, close the blinds, do our thing.
Okay.
And then we need a second meeting that same week.
For
Because we have
interviews.
to go into public session first, right? In private.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Closed
but that's.
We can do
Yeah,
it by
but
the end
that's
of the door open.
formality.
Yeah, just leave the door
Yeah.
open.
And if Pam gives you her template,
Yeah.
that has the time, you know,
Right.
that kind of stuff.
Right.
Okay, so we're into the second meeting, so this is the first meeting.
I'm open now. You guys do your,
I don't care, it
Yes, you
can
do.
be,
So the
because
second-
that begins our interviews, is that correct?
yes,
So-
that's,
So if we decide on the 15th, we gotta give them a couple days' notice to arrange their schedules to
Right.
be, I mean, what if we have an out-of-state one?
we gotta do the 17th.
Yeah,
Okay, so here's the deal.
okay.
Bruce is leaving. I'd like to do it the 17th. I
Okay.
know that's quick, but if you're doing, I agree.
Interviews the 17th.
Interviews the 17th.
Are those in here as well?
Yeah,
Those
those
are here
should
as
be
well.
here.
What day
And
would
would
you
you-
do that?
It's a Thursday.
Okay.
17.
And again, you look at the numbers, and I'm just gonna throw them out there. If you say we got 4, Pam can make 4 phone calls and be here. We can start on, at, what
The
time?
problem is gonna be if they can't get here.
Right, however,
I think
No,
they
I
think
get
that-
here.
that-
if they want it, they'll make it
Well, and
happen.
it can be virtual if
It
they're
can be
out of
virtual.
state.
Yeah.
That's true, that's an option we
They can
probably
do
ought to.
virtual for out of state.
Now, we could set up a
I,
system.
I'm not saying
You
that
could
it's
use mine.
automatically gonna be, but we have to plan for the
Right,
possibility.
so you're welcome to use the virtual in there.
Yeah.
Okay.
I bet we've conducted a couple virtual.
Paul, what does 17th work for you on a date?
It's
You know, what, if I need to take the whole day, I'll just take the day
Then
off. It doesn't matter.
Call them back.
Yeah, we can do it in.
If you're running your
that day.
It's gonna be a lot of work, so I can just take the whole day off.
How about if we
What's
just,
that gonna take, 2 hours?
that's what, maybe 3?
I'm gonna tell you that my interview was an hour with the board.
Your interview was
45 minutes to an hour.
Yeah.
But he was an exception.
Yeah. No,
No.
that's the
No.
way they were scheduled.
We
That's
probably
the way they
blocked
were
it that way,
scheduled.
but you
We're gonna
took
do
45.
45 minutes.
Then I
So
would
if
say
we,
that
if
we
we
start
started at 10, we'd be done by.
Depends how many interviews.
I'd say
Yeah.
that, I'd say that.
You start at 10, if you want to break
4
for
or
lunch,
5.
you know,
So
it's
say
30.
10 a.m.
Okay.
on the 17th.
17th at 10.
Okay.
And then from there,
We'll
we'll
see.
just, yeah, those are the 2 we only need. And then from there, we'll decide what we have, and we may need to do it
But-
Friday, and if we do, we can make that decision that night.
Well, let's plan for Friday, just so that, I mean, to me, it'd be easier to have it scheduled.
I'm already off on Friday, so I can be here. The only issue is the scheduling on people who are gone, so.
Okay, so
We'll
you're
just
asking
tentatively
for
say
one
that,
on
Jen.
Friday in case there is additional time needed.
That
And
Is that what you're saying?
in case we need to have a callback.
I'll see if I can get the
Okay.
day off.
Do you want me to call? I can call Kathleen,
You gonna call boss?
So Friday the 18th,
Friday the 18th.
At 10 o'clock also.
And so if someone's out of
That's
town
fine.
Sure.
on that Friday, they could patch you in virtually too.
Yes.
is what they discussed.
The board member could pass
which
it.
one do you?
Don't you like my
The thing that's worse
calendar?
about that is the
Calendar.
waiting of those who aren't gonna
On
get the
Friday.
call. You know what I mean? It's gonna get the call, that's, so we
Yeah, I
said,
can-
did we say 10 on the 18th?
Yes.
I can-
We'll hope that
I
we
can
don't.
patch in through an airplane.
I think the other thing that you should plan for then is what's the substance of the interview. At some point,
Yeah.
you'll need
Yeah.
to,
Yes.
So could we plan that on the 15th?
I think that
Would that be
That's
a
what we
good
ought to
time
do on
to
the
plan
15th.
what our
Just-
questions are or whatever?
Didn't
I
we have
think-
questions and we signed them out so we could all participate?
I like
We did
that.
that.
Yeah.
We did
Does
do
Richard
that.
have a template for for questions?
well, you could ask Richard, do you have some suggested questions? But as a board, you should, I think that's the other thing you should plan for is what does that interview consist of? And it's,
Yeah. We may come
Cause it
up
has
with
to be
some-
I was gonna say,
consistent.
why don't we have our own? We should have our own.
It
That we may
has
come
to
up
be
with
the
some
same in
specifics
every
as we go through those
interview.
interviews.
Yeah.
I mean, each of us should have an ability to come up with one question that's pertinent to what we see as a board member and want. And I'll still bet we won't step on anybody's toes or
Yeah.
cross over them.
The only thing, is, Richard, sometimes it helps in your brainstorming process, if you can see what is typically asked. You know.
Yeah, I think that's a
That's okay,
good
that's just
idea.
fine question.
And if we have an hour, it might be more than 7
it's gonna be a
questions.
different, it's gonna be a different,
Hour and a half.
interview than a typical job interview.
Yeah,
This is
That's
a this is a
No, no,
different
this is
interview.
character, yeah.
It is, it's a different interview, and so, I think Robert's suggestion about checking with Richard about some
Thursday.
Oh, yeah.
a template,
Friday.
you guys think
That'd be
about
over on
questions
Tuesday.
like John has suggested
Sorry.
that you feel like are important, but I think that's a great discussion on the 15th.
Yeah.
And really come up with that as well as the format.
If we had something from Richard for that meeting, that'd be helpful.
That would be helpful.
Find like some questions.
We'll ask you.
What
We'll ask
those
you
look
this
like
weekend.
in
I'll ask you this
the-
weekend.
Let me contact.
Would it be appropriate
let-
for you to write down a couple things that you were asked?
Well, I don't remember exactly
Oh,
what I
come
was
on,
asked.
Jeff, you've never forgot anything in your
Um,
life.
Let me contact Richard and see if he will send me some
Guidelines.
some
We do it
suggested
against
questions,
what's your
and
favorite color?
maybe I'll put down a couple of things.
I'm writing that down, what you said you didn't
No, I'm
I
joking.
remember the interview process very well.
We nailed
The
it.
feeling.
I remember it.
Oh, that's
I remember
specific.
Is that, you have that, we'll help.
No, we haven't,
Pam,
but
do you
we're working
have?
on it.
Yeah.
Good, okay, she's working.
Okay.
So if we have to
The-
come
the
back on
only-
the 18th, right, set the
But I
matches.
don't know.
The only other
Bruce, will
thing
you
I,
be flying that day? All the days?
maybe like to bring up to the board
Back to the
is,
white.
there've been some discussion about the, National School Boards Association Conference, which is, April 2nd through the 4th. And I know that earlier in the year, John and I had conversation about this one being one, the board's been going about every other year, and I think that's very appropriate. I think that's, conservative, responsive. You know, if anybody were to question expense and those kind of things, I think that every other year is very, very responsible, because it's also helpful as a board that you're growing together, that you're exposed to issues, receiving training, you know, those kinds of things. Well, anyway, I know John and I talked about the possibility this year of the NSBA conference, that it was the board, Robert, myself, and the new superintendent. And that could be a real time of transition, to attend the conference, attend meetings, but also have some evenings where we're going to dinner, and maybe just my role will be as anything I can do to help transition that process. So there'll be, you know, questions that that the new superintendent might have working with you out. That's my goal, that last couple of months, to just really focus on helping the district, the board, the new superintendent make transition. So with that in mind, does that sound something that the board would like to do?
I think that sounds.
And what are the
good course.
dates again of it?
It would be traveling in, Janice, would be Friday, April 1st.
Okay. That's a joke.
Friday, April 1st.
Traveling
And
first.
then returning on Monday, April 4th.
And our spring break starts that Monday.
And that is our spring break. Yeah, that's spring break, so that's helpful.
In San Diego.
I'm
In
gonna
San
have some
Diego.
stuff for that day, I'm sure,
In San Diego.
the first.
Someone's gonna get pregnant. Just I meant to ask Richard Stoll that day that he was here, what the USBA's stance is regarding the NSBA. So I called him afterwards, and USBA has not made an official position like some other state school board associations have that are withdrawn from the NSBA. So the USBA is still on board for now. You know, with that issue with the
Yes.
Attorney General and all those kinds of
Yeah.
things.
Yeah.
Hey, John?
Will you take a number, please?
And I know that there are other
Yeah, I
boards
was gonna take
attending
account
from
for Steve.
other,
Yes.
it hasn't seemed to.
That's on Friday lunch.
It hasn't seemed to
So-
impact other school districts around the state, whether or not they're attending, just as I speak with superintendents.
Yeah, and that's what Richard Schultz said, had several school boards
Bruce?
attend, he didn't seem to.
Bruce?
Yeah.
Two,
Then we'll leave right
two for Doug,
Friday, yeah.
two for Paul.
What time
Janice?
is it Thursday?
It's just
This
after
is
the camp.
at the Grand America, that steeple lunch.
Oh, is it for dinner or for lunch?
This is lunch.
Just one.
Jeff, two, okay. And then Dean, I'll text him or call him.
I'll make sure that I'm done.
Okay, so, with NSBA, can we just have then Pam, contact each of you? We'll have Pam, take care of travel arrangements, and just if you're taking a spouse or guest, you know, you'd need to reimburse flight for that. We've got some rooms at a place in Old Town, that's very accessible to the freeway, that makes it very easy, and we got a great rate on those,
And the
so
Coyote Cafe is in Old Town, so.
Yeah.
It is.
there's some,
You can get us where we need to be once we're there. Are you gonna do any kind of like historical conversation with us? I'd like that.
Yeah.
Before he answers that,
We want a
before he
tour.
answers that, can we do what we did in Gettysburg, which was, I thought, very good, in a sense that when we do dinner together, that they just keep that per diem and
part of
they
the
pay?
per diem.
Sure.
Because it seemed like that worked so well,
Yeah, it does.
and I really liked the networking that we had.
Yeah.
I thought it was very
Well,
powerful.
We have dinners
Are you guys
together.
good with that?
Yeah, we'll calculate that to get the exact bill. Speaking of that, the,
USBA.
USBA, it should be in your bank accounts today. We did an EFT, electronic funds transfer, your per diem and your mileage for, this weekend coming up.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And that includes
That includes.
tomorrow night and,
The dinner tomorrow night. If the conference pays for it, we don't include it, cause so tomorrow night, Friday morning, Friday midday, and then, Saturday morning.
yeah. Right.
Friday midday, is that when we have lunch?
Yeah,
Yeah.
but you don't have to go to that, so the optional, that's why.
Okay.
Yeah. So,
Tomorrow evening, there is no dinner.
There is no
No.
dinner
What
tomorrow.
time does that end tomorrow?
it goes about
Usually
8:30.
8:30.
They've got apparently a really good keynote, entertaining guy. Of course, they always say that, but they're usually pretty good. Yeah.
Remember, we have closed session tonight.
Tonight.
So Robert, roll call vote,
Okay.
and it's a character competence.
Yes, and I'll make sure I'll get that in there.
Okay.
All right, Greg, well, let's get the 6-minute pit stop and then we're on in. So let's get some violinists.
Hey, just for what it's worth, department, the social security people, we were all excited, we're gonna get 5.9%. That's the highest expense since we've been on social security. So then the detail came,
Uh-oh.